Hello, everyone, and welcome to BuildShip's live stream, where we will be building a 30-second products commercial with no code using OpenAI's new Image-Gen-1 model and Luma's Ray text-to-video model using Replicate. So today we're going to walk through the workflow. We're going to talk about some design trade-offs and explore what these tools can and can't do today. My name is Colin. I am an enterprise AI engineer at BuildShip, and I'm here with Jeevan.
Yeah, so I am Jeevan, a software engineer at BuildShip. I build tools and nodes which you use. That's all.
Great. So we worked together on this workflow earlier this week, and we came up with this. So basically, you can use OpenAI's Image-Gen-1 to generate an image of a product, or submit an image of your own product, and then you can use these text-to-video models to generate individual 5 to 10-second scenes. So today we wanted to talk about what our workflow looks like, just to kind of get something out the door, what we did. And then we'll talk through some of its limitations, show you kind of which models we used and why, talk about the pricing a little bit, and then try and optimize the workflow to see if we can build something higher quality. So this one worked pretty well. This is a 10-second commercial. It's composed of 2 different video clips. We gave it basically the image of a watch and said at the 0 second, 5 second, and 10-second mark, give us an image that we want to aim for. So the opening frame was this watch that we generated. The middle frame was this businessman going around his day. And then we wanted the last frame to be something where he was sitting out looking over the night sky. So all we gave the model, and we will go through this in BuildShip, is a prompt, the reference image, the length of the commercial that we want to create, and then an email. So it worked pretty well for that. We'll give it a couple other examples here. So this one didn't work as well. This one started with this image of the watch. It didn't really get the watch hands correctly. The scene changes so dramatically that it doesn't really know what to do. It still can't do hands very well. It's wearing the watch the wrong way, but that's okay. So you can see that if we don't really give it the right scenes to work through and walk through, it's not going to get the right content. So something else we tried to do is, can we build content for like a cartoon mime, advertising one of our favorite partners to work with, 11 Labs. So we gave it the 11 Labs widget and a mime as an example. It was actually a cartoon mime. And the thought was that we were going to create a commercial where the mime is helped by this voice agent out of sticky situations that it's usually in. But again, it's just not really converting for us. So some of the reasons we think this is. Let's go into BuildShip and talk about kind of what happened. So Jeevan, can you tell us a little bit about the image generation model that we're using, and then also the Luma video that we're using?
Yeah, so for the image generation, we are using latest gpt-image-1 model, which is recently launched by OpenAI team. It is generating a really well image using text prompt or the reference, or you can do some sort of editing of the image also. So it's give really well response. So here we are giving some prompt, and based on that, it has some reference image also, which which gives that how to generate and what kind of image to be generated to make it more realistic one. And then it's generate the like final image which we are using further to create the video frames. So yeah.
Great. So we have this image generator in our library right now. This OpenAI image generator. We just released keyless nodes last week. So there's a couple steps you have to get access to the image generator, actually. And one of those is you have to get an approved organization. So that's a bit of a process. So instead of you having to go and set up that yourself, you can use your BuildShip credits, which uses a proxy server that lets you run these image generations through our API key, and you get charged to it with BuildShip credits. So if you've been kind of wanting...
Keyless one will be really helpful for all the users. Like they don't have to create the API key for all sort of AI application or model is present over the internet. They can just use our API keys, which is available 24/7. There will be no credit outage, anything like that. So it's really helpful for the users to use keyless node.
Definitely. And I think for me, when we started using the keyless nodes, I was surprised by how much they cost. Like, I think OpenAI is getting a little bit more aggressive on the costs, especially for multimodal. Do you want to, I can show you a screen, Jeevan, and do you want to walk through some of the pricing for that?
Yeah, I can show you. So this one is for image generation one. I can go to the cost and latency one, where you can see that it has different pricing for the quality, like low, medium, or high, and based on the sizes as well, like square size, portrait, or landscape. So this model basically takes text as input, and also image as also input for edit endpoints, and it produced the image output. So the detailed pricing we can see on the pricing page, where we can find gpt-image-1. So if we just giving the text as input, then it charges $5, and if we give image as input token, it will be charged $10 per million token, and output for $40 per million token. So that
And
is
I
the
think
pricing.
like 1 million tokens is hard for me to wrap my mind around, but I think something
Yeah,
like 1,500 tokens is like 1,000 words. Is that right? Or 1,000 words is 1,500 tokens? It's right
yeah,
around,
yeah,
like, token per word is kind of a good estimate. But so we built these in so you don't have to worry about all those parameters, and you can select the size, quality, and if you ever want to go in and adjust more specifically what's happening, we have the JavaScript code here that you can go and edit. So you can adjust how we're actually calling the API if you need something specific. And look out for more AI features to kind of do that for you, so you don't have to look at code ever again. That's
yeah.
coming in. So with the image generation node, you have the prompts, you have the reference image. If anybody wants to in the chat say something about what they like, what type of commercial they might want to add, they can send a URL to an image, and then what the commercial might want to be, and we can actually start that now. So basically, I gave it a prompt and just said, create a silent cartoon commercial for a voice agent widget. So this can be anything.
Are you sharing your screen, Colin?
Oh, nope, sorry.
Yeah.
So we will run this flow now just to kind of see how it goes. But we'll also walk you through kind of what's been going right and what's been going wrong. So we'll just make a 10-second commercial. But if anybody from the comments section has an idea, we can get that working. So how are we actually building this flow? We'll walk through that while we wait for some input. We first are taking the prompt, image reference, the number of seconds you want to create a video for. So theoretically, you could create an hour-long video once we got the kind of connection between all the prompts, right? We're taking GPT vision to be able to look at the image reference. And so for the image reference for me, I added, let's see if I can get this going. So I don't think it has my mime. There we go. Okay. So I tried to generate an image that would be a reference that the AI can use. First, I just generated this one, and that's the last frame of the video you saw. But I wanted to give it like a character, the 11 Labs widget, and then a background consistency so that I was able to use that as a reference. So I'll download that again. And we can just do this. And we upload this new mime ref. And we can do a cartoon commercial for a voice agent. Use the reference image as the character and scene reference. So let's give it a little bit more flexibility and see what it does. I tried to give it like scene specific directions. And I guess you could probably do that, but I think it's better just to do it this way. So we'll test this flow already. And this takes a while. So that's the other thing with these workflows. Like BuildShip has a 5-minute timeout on the interface where you can see like what's happening with the logs and things like that. And when we're running these big video models, especially running them multiple times, it just takes a while. So that's something we need to account for, is how do we think better for the future of, we're going to have not only this, but we're about to release like a computer use agent that can use your computer for you. And those things just for now take a while. They might get faster in the future. So kind of when you're thinking about the architecture of your application, you need to be thinking about, I'm not going to just be able to call this API and get the response quickly. I'm going to have to kind of set this task out and then get it back.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking at that MIME reference image just to get a description of the characters and everything in it, including the text. So you can imagine adding a product here, you could add a character here. And then we're using GPT 4.1, and you can use any model you want with our OpenAI chat node, also keyless. But if you bring your own API key, it uses your own. And then you can select any type of output you want. We're trying to make it easy for you to be able to select like text versus JSON and all the different output formats. So then what this one is doing, once it finishes, you'll be able to see the specific output. Again, this takes a while. It goes in and it generates an image for every scene. So if it's a 10-second commercial, it's going to generate an image for scene 0, or frame 0, frame 5, or like the 5th second frame, and frame 10. And so its prompt is to generate a cinematic image for the frame described, because we've described the actual frame, and it's given kind of this context in the image frame description. What we're noticing is the actual scenes are so disjointed because they don't reference each other. So you're getting something from an office to a cafe, there's no consistency. So that's what I was trying to do with this. Yeah.
That depends on the model which we are using for video generation. So currently we are using Luma, like that one. What's the name exactly? Actually, I'm not
Luma
sure.
Ray.
Yeah, Luma Ray is the one which we are using from the replicate one. So you can choose other models as well. Like we can have Runway ML for that also. That is giving really well output. So we are planning to build that node for you. If you want to create your own, you can do that also. It's easy to create. So that depends on the video generation model output, like how well they gives the output. So yeah.
Yeah, like some models right now only take the start image URL and end image URL. Like the best in class in my eyes right now are Kling AI and Google VO. If I'm getting this wrong, if there's a better one, let us know. But some things like that with Google VO, through Replicate at least, doesn't accept an end image URL. So you can only start the frame. You can't target something at the end. So we expect there to be more standardization. Like for the image generator node and the OpenAI chat, we're now using the responses API.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between completions and responses, and like where the standard is going?
Yeah, both APIs like pretty much similar, but the responses API is more sort of they are targeting to build agents related stuff where you can have tools together bind with responses API. So they are targeting to give more like features into the responses API, or they are like focusing on mostly building image tools, audio tools, also supporting to the responses API. So in future we will also have those if they implemented that. So it's really easy to use. Response is pretty straightforward as compared to completion API. So that's the one point. So developer friendly it is. So that's all.
So that allows us to do really nice things, like this is an OpenAI agent with tool calling. So if you've used BuildShip for a while, you've seen kind of our iterations from going from you can just use an LLM to generate text to you can do the image and video following along with OpenAI to then their assistant, which was kind of a mess, to be honest. Like you had to go get an assistant key. It didn't really do what you wanted. You set your prompt there and you had to set it here. And it just wasn't clear. But Jeevan, as the wizard he is, just kind of whip this together, which is an OpenAI agent with tools. So this has built-in conversational history with a session ID. it allows you to use the built-in in tools in the background here. But then also you can add individual tools that you build.
Yeah.
So that could be, for example, this, you can ship this and you can ship it out to your, to like a bolt.new web server build or any sort of front-end interface. And then you would be able to use this OpenAI agent with any of the BuildShip workflows or any other APIs basically that you have in your system. So we're trying to understand a little bit more, not just these indie hacker people, no offense, like I'm definitely one of them, but get away from the toy examples a little bit and find things that people can really use in their enterprise. And this is the type of setup that you'll need to be able to get consistent results from AI, instead of just opening up ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your poison is, and getting something that's half-baked, or you having to repeat the prompt every time, or you don't have the right copy paste coming back and forth, which is incredibly frustrating.
Correct.
So I'm giving away some interesting things here that are coming out soon. So where are we? I think we've reached that 5-minute mark now. So we are not going to actually be able to see the results on the screen. That's something that we're working on. It's just, I guess we're surprised at how long some of these workflows are taking. But we use the image generator here. Did I add this? Yeah, I added this separately. So this image generator that I added, it comes with like, some pre-baked images. You can add not just one, but many reference images. So I think you had a pretty good example here, right? Maybe we can add a few.
Yes.
I'll upload this one.
You can pick from the images folder. There could be
images folder. There's a few. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we use this for so many things that we're not as good with the organization of it. I think something that we're going to see soon, though, for this type of thing is a little bit better folder structure in general. For like, I don't have to care about my folder structure, and AI can kind of place it where it needs to be. Like we have semantic search in basically everything that we use now. Using Millisearch is kind of my best-in-class example for that. But other tools like even Supabase, I'm surprised they don't have something yet. Well, let's say build us a gift basket. I don't know, I'm tired of the gift basket example, but build us a gift basket that you wouldn't want to give somebody for their birthday, including at least these.
Yeah.
So you can use multiple images. This is the type of thing that kind of was stuck on platforms for a while. And then last week when OpenAI released their image-1 or gpt-image-1 API, it allows you to do a lot of this stuff now through the API. And we built that for command. So if you want to use the image generators in your workflow, this is where to go. The image generator node. But it does take a while.
Yeah, it takes time. They have added this into their limitation as well, that if you give some really extra stuff to do, so it takes time to create the images using the references.
So like we initially had here in our loop where we were trying to generate the image for each scene, where we had, this one looks like you would want to give it to your mom, but that's okay. But it takes the images that we took and put it into a basket for us. We also have this, the cartoon tune, something we built recently with this career tune. Feel free to go to career-tune.versal.app and try it out. But the trend going around on all the social media, where you can build a kind of starter pack for any character. This one goes through using a BuildShip workflow with API-Fi, which is a great service. It scrapes your LinkedIn profile and then generates an image based on your profile for using that kind of fun cartoon art. So I'll show you what that looks like in a little while. But these are some of the use cases that we have for building with Image Gen 1 at this point. Any questions from anybody in the audience at this point? We're happy to kind of divert and talk about what does and does not work. But for now, I will delete this one. So we have, after we generate these individual files, we upload them to a BuildShip database. So something else nice about BuildShip is I love Supabase, I love MongoDB. Like there's so many great database options out there. But if you need something kind of fast and dirty to just store something locally and use it, or even if you want built-in embeddings, which are coming very, very soon, they're here. I won't go too deep into it. Then you can upload these files and create documents, which are just rows in your database for these things and have them in long-term storage for you to then reference in your workflows. And it's fast, and we have this new file handling way where you don't have to worry about uploading URLs, and you just use the right nodes for the job and you get it done. Yeah. So after we generate those images, we go and get the whole batch of images that we generated in a JSON file. We pair them up to say, like, this is scene 1 with scene 2, and then the storyline between them that the AI had generated. And then we use Luma Ray Video. So can you talk a little bit about what are some of the different inputs and like why we don't have just a text to video node that you can use any service from?
Yeah, so in this one, we are using Luma Ray, which can have only text input. It can have text and image also. So we are giving start image and end image. And we are telling that create the video snippet or frames between these two images. So it will start from the first frame, which is the initial image, and the last end image, which will be the last frame of the video. So this is what we are saying. And then we have aspect ratio as input, which we are giving to get the video in what ratio, like 16:9 or 9:16. Then we have loop. So it will just loop over the images which we have given as start and end. So you can enable that flag or disable based on your requirement. Again, we have the advanced settings where we have start video ID and end video ID. So whenever the 2 frames video is generated, there will be a ID which you can pick and put it back into the start video ID, and it will generate from that frame to the next end image URL. So you can use all these parameters based on your requirement. It's really great.
Great. And so this is the way, like, want to use Luma or any other text to video in your application, do it with BuildShip. So thanks, Nick, in the comments for using BuildShip. We'd love to hear about your use case and see if there's anything that we can build with you. So Luma Ray, like, can you pull up maybe the replicate, and we can look at some of the video models and just show like what we can and can't use for this type of use case at this point? I think something like Kling AI, I was actually disappointed in. I love Kling AI, but I tried to get their developer tools, their API platform, and it seems like their credits that you purchase don't actually work on the API. If I have that wrong, somebody let me know. But I think the people who are going to win in this kind of agent-to-agent business are going to be the ones who really, really well integrate their API with their kind of front-end tooling. Because I feel like a lot of people just want to have their own interface and like custom toolkit for the workflows that they build every day. Because you might want to build with Kling AI, but honestly, like, no offense to anybody, but I don't really know where to start with the interface. I don't really care about a lot of these features. So instead, I would rather use, Bolt or Lovable or whatever. And if you don't know about these, v0.dev, I think.
Yeah.
If you don't know about these are generative front ends. We have a bunch of videos about how to use them. So like I made, for example, I made my wedding website on Bolt.new, and it uses BuildShip workflows in the background. It uses an 11 Labs voice agent to like answer questions about what's happening each night of the wedding, things like that. So like people are able to really start building these custom software applications for their lives. And I think rather than having to go out and build an enterprise SaaS for a huge amount of money with like 90% of the features you don't care about, you just build exactly what you want. And then the most important thing is that you have your data schema and your workflows really, really tight. So that's what BuildShip lets you do, is make sure that your kind of workflows and the visual representation of the workflows, so that it's highly explainable, not only to your best developer, but who it's tough to communicate with, the CEO, but also you can walk your CEO through and say, first we do this, then we do this, then we do that. And we're getting more and more features that let you do things like that. Yeah.
So there is questions, Colin, if you want to answer that.
Sure. Jeevan, so are we able to support Runway Gen 4? Can you show a demo of how to, like, what is your process to go and build a node with Runway Gen 4? And if we get blocked, we get blocked, but I'm pretty sure we could do it.
Yeah, I can.
Can I share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. So, I have used replicate. So I'll show you that how we created this runway. How we use replicate for Luma Ray 1. So the code is really simple. If you want to create any node, you can just add plus and create a node from the started one if you want, or you can pick our own something similar which already built. So I'll be giving the example using the replicate node which we have created for this workflow, the video generation one. So we have used replicate for that, and you can go to the explore and find any models which you want. So for this one we have Luma Ray 1. So that model we have choose this one, text to video and image to video. And there you can, like, every docs has some code snippet which you can use and create your own node. So we have just read the documentation and build the tool similar to this. You can see that we are just using this replicate run, and we have passed the model and giving the input which needed. So you can add the inputs over here if you want to create your own. But for sure, we will be creating the support for the Runway ML. So yeah, it can come very soon.
Do you want to try and do that live, Jeevan?
I won't have the API key at this moment. I can try, but
let me see if I can. But can we do it with replicate? Does replicate not have Runway?
No, it doesn't support at this moment. Yeah.
Okay, why don't you show just like how you would build it, and let me see if I can get an API key in the background.
Yeah, sure. I can try that one.
Or Nick, feel free to share your API key with us if you really want.
Okay.
Just kidding, I'll get one.
Okay, I'm trying to sign up here, and then I'll create.
You can focus on the docs if you want, and I can do the API key. Don't worry.
Yeah, sure.
So like this is a demonstration of just the process of trying to get an API key for any service. Like this takes a senior developer like Jeevan, still, at least 15 to 30 minutes just to get the API key, and then you have to go and integrate with your platform. AI tools are getting better and better at doing it, but typically making sure like the inputs and the outputs are in the right format and read correctly and then built into your app are just a little bit tough. So this is a good use case for the keyless nodes, and BuildShip like have all of the services that you want to be able to use already in there. And then, yeah, reach out just like Nick did here if you want something that we don't have. So your process, Jeevan, is basically like go to the documentation and see their usage examples, or how does that work?
Yeah, they have the SDK, I think. Yeah, Node.js. They have the SDK for Node.js. So currently our node creation support JavaScript and Node.js environment. So we can create using this one. Okay.
Nick, is there a specific reason you like Runway right now? Are they doing something well?
Yeah, their output is really good. And the in the Q&A, I think Nick has asked to do that. So let's try that one if we can pull off. Okay. I don't know, they have the package.
Okay, I'm going to send you an API key, Jeevan, in our private chat, so please don't share it.
Okay.
Let me see. I'll check my billing and see if I'm able to actually add 0 credits. Let me add some credits.
Yeah. Sure. So I can come to this one. Okay. So I'll create a new workflow. That's fine. Anyway, let's and create a node. Started script.
So you start from scratch every time. You don't use the old nodes. You just paste in their implementation of JavaScript.
Yeah, I use that, but this is really new. We have not implemented any node for the Runway ML. So
Okay.
yeah, for this one, like I will explain that if you want to use any npm package, you can just paste it over here. Our platform is really cool to understand what npm package has to be used and to install. So it will do that on the runtime. So you don't have to do anything here.
And this week I've been trying to do some stuff with MCP, and for the first time in like over a year, I had to install a package and go through that process because usually BuildShip just handles it for me. And so yeah, it feels like doing things like that is a thing of the past.
Oh, I think I could have used the existing node to get the environment variables. Fine.
Okay, we have credits now for Runway, so
Okay, let me pick some existing node. That's what we do. Which one should I pick? Let's pick this one up. Okay, I'll just have to take a reference. And then about this is what I need.
Something we haven't played around with much are the audio models, but I think our objective is to get to the point where we have more of the aggregator tools like Replicate that go through and try and build the APIs for everybody. And then we have very good interfaces for Replicate, so that you have like Replicate, which is good for the image and video models. You have OpenAI with their suite of LLMs and their own audio text image models.
Yeah.
And then you also have your database providers, Superbase, MongoDB, BuildShip database, and then you have web search with Perplexity. And like we have a lot of examples of this where you can build basically anything you want. Just making sure that you're treating it like Lego pieces, where you're putting X and Y and Z and putting it together. I'll quickly share a couple things here. Let's see if I can get this going. Just 2 more uses of the image gen 1. So this is kind of an interesting toy example. Let me see if I can share it. So this is what the trend on social media to be able to do this. If you go to the career tune thing that I shared earlier, career tune, it will scrape your LinkedIn profile and send to your email the address for you. Unless we get too many people and then LinkedIn starts blocking us. But so this is my starter pack. I run a regenerative farm, so it goes in, looks at my experience, and builds out a AI and farming kind of combo. So this is the type of workflow that you've seen on the internet. You're probably like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I need the prompt for it, or you kind of to set that up every time with GitHub Pro or ChatGPT Pro. With BuildShip, you can just use the image generation node with BuildShip credits and do it. The other interesting use case is I'm trying to learn how to draw. And so the top one is the image that I drew myself from a butterfly. The bottom one is using AI to help me draw. So I had AI generate an image first. And it then, I asked it to give me like, what is the base level sketch of what to do? So it gave me this. This was AI generated. This was not me. And then I tried to draw that in the real world, and then took a picture and said, okay, using my base level sketch, add the next level of detail that would make it actually look good. And so it kind of adjusted from its original plan and then drew on top of my image. And then we did that a couple more times until we ended up with, something that's pretty technically better. I even asked AI to, understand which one is better and why, and like what techniques I learned, things like that, and then you can generate an image with as if it was a DSLR camera. So there's some interesting use cases. They look like toy examples at this point, but there's some great content out there about how toy examples are kind of what help us understand better what the future is going to look like. So Jeevan, I'll put your screen back on. And so you can imagine this type of like build things step by step. Like, is that how we're going to build houses in the future? Is that how we're going to do electrical work in the future? Where it looks at this, green field and then slowly says, here's how you build the foundation. Here's how you build the next step, next step, next step. So, the image use cases kind of feel like NFTs at this point. Like nobody really cares. But now we're starting to do NFTs for equities, and now we're starting to do NFTs for deeds for houses and things like that. So I think something similar is going to be starting to happen for these kind of seemingly toy examples in image and voice and video. Live Kit, Rick says, is great for real-time voice and video. Another important kind of build point is for LLMs, we're starting to get some standards. We have MCP, which is kind of the way to use tools and resources for agents, like a model context protocol from Anthropic. I think we also have the OpenAI responses API. It's kind of their whole SDK is an emerging standard as well, which I think kind of pairs well with the OpenAI, with MCP. I don't think they're competitors. I think you can use the responses API to actually call the API, but then the MCP to talk between agents. And then I think where we're kind of missing are the audio, the video, and some of these other modalities. Like I'm guessing OpenAI is probably thinking pretty seriously about this. Like, how do we get consistent tools? How's it going, Jeevan? What's going on now?
Yeah, so I have created this implementation. It has two parts. One is that you have to create a request for doing the task of video creation. So that I am doing. Okay.
Is there a reason it says the GPT vision node?
Oh, sorry.
I think you have to change that in the additional settings there.
Yeah.
In the test panel.
Okay. I don't know. Something is wrong.
You have the API key?
Yeah, I have I'm not able to add the Runway ML here.
Oh, okay.
So I have used the OpenAI and created a new environment variable for that and trying to pick that up. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but let's see.
If you need to pass it in directly, I can just very quickly delete the key after this.
If I can pass directly, that may work. Yeah. Can you please stop sharing my screen again? I add that.
Yeah, sure, 1 second. So we'll look at the live kit voice agent. What is that?
or we can just delete that API key later on. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, sorry, did I share my screen yet? Okay, there we go. So I'm looking at LiveKit now. Advanced voice mode. That's something else. We haven't implemented advanced voice mode for BuildShip yet, like where you can build that into your applications. We do have like voice stream. Kind of have to hack that together. I think as these things mature and we get better examples, we'll be able to build those out for you. But if there's a specific application you've been wanting to build with BuildShip, using that, let us know, and we'd be happy to kind of design that out together. I think robotics are super interesting. Like, I'm sure we'll have to adjust a lot of the way that we build these things for this type of agent as well. Even just in the way that they're training the models now, with the, like not only with like response and input, but also action, real world action.
I think we can't use that model maybe.
Oh, so LiveKit powers 11 labs and OpenAI. So what? They're an open source voice agent framework. So is this something that I like shouldn't care about, or is this because I'll be using like for my kind of building, I'll be using 11 labs and OpenAI more frequently, or is this something? Are you comparing this to MCP basically for audio, Nick, in the comments? But 11 labs is great, and it's really easy to build. It's really easy to build in the BuildShip workflows into your agent. So like we have this wedding assistant prompt that I'm using for my wedding, you know? And so I'm able to get this voice widget down here at the bottom, and I can put that on any website. And so I just have to copy this, and I use bolt.new, so I literally copy it and paste it into Lovable or bolt.new and be like, hey, build me a wedding website with this. And then I slowly iterate. The RSVP I built in BuildShip. So I actually had it for a little while where the voice agent was able to accept RSVPs. So the way you would do that type of thing is the knowledge base. I have like the whole wedding website here, so that it's able to use the knowledge base. So Level Up is really great. But then with tools, you can add these custom tools, which we're about to release a kind of guides of how to do this with any BuildShip workflow. But you can add the name of the tool description and then the API URL, which we generate, and then the body parameters, which are the things that the agent has to call. So let's say you want to have a voice agent that conducts interviews for you. You do that with this, where you say, one of the tools that you give it is, here are the list of questions that I want everybody to answer, and then here are the list of questions that I generated using BuildShip specific to this person's resume and experience. And then every time they answer one of those questions, feed that into a Google Sheet, analyze it, and then update the list of questions with better questions for the interviewee. So some interesting stuff you can do there. Very, very new feeling AI experiences. Okay, so Nick is saying that LiveKit's kind of like MCP and like a communication standard for audio, but also video. But they're what are powering 11 labs and OpenAI. So that's interesting to hear that as part of the ecosystem. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, let's go back to BuildShip. Let's see if that shows up. It doesn't right now. That's okay. It's going to show up later. It's just we let it run for so long with this that it just keeps going forever. But for people who wanted to see some of the things that it was able to generate, we have this watch commercial where we generated this asset of a watch and asked it to show this businessman wearing it as he goes across his day. So very limited by not the image model. The images look great. Like these are the kind of interim images. But the video model we use just isn't wonderful. So maybe Runway will improve that.
Yeah.
How's it going over there?
Yeah,
Jeevan?
it's almost done. I think it is about to.
Okay. Do you want me to share your screen?
Yeah, you can share my screen.
That was a cute rabbit.
Okay, so I'm doing the.
So what's the hardest part about this right now? Is it trying to understand like what specifically you need to feed into
Yeah,
Runway?
the problem was that okay, because a ratio is required there. So where is that? It is the docs is not clear to me. I think that's the problem.
Sorry, my dog's in the room.
Where is the docs?
So this is kind of hopefully the last time we're going to have to do something like this where it's hard to implement. We're just about to release some very interesting AI features that should be able to do a lot of this very easily. So, Jeevan, even if you want me to hide your screen, you can try and use that automatically, but I'm not sure if it's able to do the API keys and stuff yet.
Yeah, the API keys thing is done. The problem currently I'm facing is that it is asking me to put a ratio as the input payload, but their docs has not mentioned anywhere that is the thing.
It
Not sure.
doesn't have the price yet.
If you see the example code over here, there is no ratio as input here.
Okay, let's see if we can find it. So this BuildShip workflow, we are not going to make as a template yet because we want to get it right before we do it. But if you want to play around with it, then feel free to comment on this video or reach out to us directly, and I'd be very happy to share it with you. And if you have a specific use case or integration that you want us to walk through or build out for you or with you, then let us know. Any other video models, for example. I think Jeevan already created the VO2
Yeah,
one.
that is great.
So if you want to go from a starting frame, then you can do that. So let's give it a few more minutes, Jeevan, to try and figure this out. And if there's any questions, happy to dive into that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Not sure what is the ratio. 9. Oh, okay. They have really bad documentation.
That's the thing. I feel like every agent provider should have a function in their API, which is like get help.
Yeah. So I'm trying and hitting like getting error, then again fixing that. So hit and try.
Same connection wall. You're getting the same issue?
Oh. Yeah, it worked, but there is no response. Maybe I'm not returning the response. Okay, my bad. I'm not responding. So I can return the image video as a response. Let's say. Oops, not here.
Yeah, it feels like most of these platforms need to have a bot that is able to answer questions with the API or like I guess, MCP. So this is soon to be a thing of the past where we have issues with trying to integrate with different services.
Yeah.
If we have the right kind of agent-to-agent communication. So that's what BuildShip is trying to do, where we're able to kind of aggregate all of those agents into building blocks, give you the Lego bricks to then go and build whatever you want to build. And like for me, it's turned me from like the idea guy into somebody that can actually go and build things in a very short amount of time. So it feels like just with the amount of speed you get, that the types of applications we'll be seeing in the next, year to 2 years is really going to be something fresh and new.
Yeah. So we got the ID from after running this one. So it is I think task ID. So they have another endpoint where we can just put the task ID and get the response if it is done or not. So I have to implement that too if you want. But currently it is like the task is pushed into the queue to do that video generation stuff, and there will be another node which can wait and look for the task is complete or not in a loop after a certain amount of time, like 500 millisecond or 1 second. So it will retry to get the response of that particular task. So this is the how Runway ML works, and if that is done, then we can just return the video as the output.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So let's finish up here and just talk about the very last bit of this workflow, which we haven't talked about how it's actually working yet.
Yes.
It,
Do you want me to create that node also to get the if that video generation is done or not?
sure, if that makes sense, and then we can just publish the runway and we'll post about it on X, and make it available for everybody who is itching to see. So
Okay.
the last, you pick your favorite video model to. Okay. I froze for a second. We create this document to save the video, and then we have to take each of the individually created videos and combine them. So this node, which is in our node library, lets you combine MP4s. I know for me, oftentimes I've been trying to make a video and like I have the individual clips and I have to, on Mac, use iMovie, or on Windows, like download software for $100. There's really not a lot of good options. So just being able to do this within a workflow is really nice. And then I have it where it sends an email to me with my commercials ready, and the email body with the combined video URL, and then the prompt that I sent there. So this is the framework for a text to video commercial model. The video models today, some of the things that BuildShip is doing to try and account for these longer form video and content and computer use, things like that. But yeah. So thanks for joining the live stream. Jeevan, do you think we'll have something to show for this, or we can wrap up now and post this later?
Yeah, we can post it later because the docs is not really helpful. So I have to again do some research and implement that node. So currently the first part is done to create the video. The remaining part is that pull that video status if it is done or not, and then return the video actual URL. So that is something is pending. I'll be doing that and updating over to you so that you can create a content.
All right, great. We'll do it so you don't have to. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining, and thanks for all the questions. Let me make sure I didn't lose anything. Great. Okay, thanks, Nick. And thank you to everybody for joining. We'll see you soon. If there's something you want to see in the next live stream, there's actually another one on Thursday where the CTO and Shams and I are going to be building an enterprise application from scratch over multiple sessions. So the first thing we're going to do is like build a wait list and some sort of product requirements where we track like the feedback of what people want as part of the product. So we have some ideas of what we want to build, but if you want to join that session, you can give your feedback and we can kind of guide where the product goes together. So we want to show that like BuildShip is an asynchronous remote company. Like come apply to work with us if you want to. It's fantastic. And it's very interesting to try and work with teams when you each have very different like missions and tasks, but you need to be able to communicate with each other. Oops, did I do this? So I think there's a lot of room for like new forms of operating and communicating online where you use AI to get different people's opinions and then kind of splice them together into something so that you're able to be much more organized than what we have today. Because I love tools like Linear, but they're just not, they don't feel modern anymore with all the other types of automations that we're building. Yeah, so join us for that on Thursday. And then I believe we're going to be doing that every week. And Jeevan and I will be here as often as we can to do some of these more technical deep dives. We also have an office hours tomorrow with one of our tool and workflow designers, Lewis. It was great. So if you want to do that, reach out to us. That's like invite only office hours if you're building a project and want help over a long period of time. So we'll screen you first. But really, thanks for being part of the community, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Jeevan.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks.